In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about different retirement options in Southeast Asia. And while Southeast Asia always has been a popular retirement destination, right now in particular, people are having a bit more of a look around for one reason with a lot of the uncertainty and changes to visa policy or more in particular tax policy. In Thailand, people are having a look at alternatives in the region, but not just about Thailand. People who are in the West and looking to move to the East, there's a lot of people who are on fixed incomes who are struggling to have a decent quality of life in their home country because everything is just so expensive these days. And the fact of the matter is, not only can you save money in Southeast Asia, if you wish, you can also upgrade your lifestyle, but even without having to spend a lot more money, you can just have a much higher quality of life. You'll have more money to go out and socialize with friends, do various activities. You'll have more money to have a nice condo if that's what you want to have. You just won't have to worry and stress as much. It's a lot easier to live a nice, comfortable life out here in Asia than it is in the West. That is a fact. So in this video, we're going to look at some of the factors that you will consider when choosing a retirement destination in Southeast Asia, such as cost of living, visas, healthcare, and social life. My name's Aaron, I'm from Offshore in Asia. We help people move, do business, and invest out in Asia. If you're interested in that kind of thing, head over to offshoreinAsia.com, have a look around. You can send us an email, you can book in a consult call. We can help you to get out here and living the life that you want to live. Now, first up with cost of living. Thailand is very good on the cost of living. Most of Southeast Asia is very good on the cost of living. There's a couple of exceptions. Singapore is an obvious one. We won't talk about that here. But most of the countries in Southeast Asia are very affordable. Thailand in particular, you do get a lot of value for your money. You can get very nice accommodation, eat very well, go out and have fun at a very affordable rate. Of course, your monthly budget will vary tremendously depending on how you like to live. Do you like to go out into the bars every night? Do you like to eat at Western restaurants? If you like to do these kinds of things, of course, it's going to cost you a lot more. If you're just living a pretty simple life, you're eating Thai meals at the Thai restaurants. If you're not a big drinker, or if you just like to have a few here and there, you can live here very affordably. Vietnam perhaps might be a little bit cheaper than Thailand. I would say accommodation is a little bit cheaper. Food, probably about the same. The coffee in Vietnam is very good and quite cheap. You can live a very good life here as well. It's not quite as set up or well set up to the long-term expat as Thailand is, but it's still a good option. The Philippines. You can live in the Philippines very cheaply, particularly if you're not in the big cities. If you're not in Manila, if you're not in Cebu, if you're out in one of the other islands, you can live very cheap. Again, like all these places, if you eat at the local eateries, you can eat for under $2 a meal. It's very easy to do. If you're going to the Westerner places, if you're going to the tourist places that are set up for the hipster cafes and that kind of thing, you're going to be paying a lot more in these kinds of places. So it really depends on where you eat and that sort of thing, where you live. Accommodation is not, it's cheap, but it's probably not as cheap as Thailand. That said, if you get a monthly rental, it can be quite cheap. Again, it depends. Do you want to live in like BGC or Makati in Manila? Or if you're in Cebu, are you going to be in like IT Park or Business Park? If you're in these kinds of places, you're going to be paying a lot more. Still, you'll get a lot more for your money than you would have got in the West, but you're going to be paying a lot more than you would be paying if you were just living in more modest, like comfortable, decent, but more modest dwellings, something more similar to what a middle-class Filipino might live in. Cambodia, again, is relatively cheap. It's probably, I might say, a little bit more expensive than Thailand. That is kind of interesting, being a sort of a smaller tourist market. It might have something to do with having a dollarized economy. They have the dual currency there. They operate under the Cambodian riel and the US dollar at the same time. So you can go pay for a meal and get change in US dollars and Cambodian reals and try and work out if they've given you the right money or not. That's sort of how it is. That takes a bit of getting used to, but it is relatively cheap. You can still get quite a lot for your money here. You can get a nice condo very affordably. Laos is another place that some people will be attracted to. It is a very nice, relaxing place to be. It's pretty cheap, but they've also got some issues there going on at the moment, some financial and budgetary issues going on. Their inflation is very high. The economy is not really stable at the moment, but you can still go there, have a nice relaxing lifestyle, and by the time you convert your home currency over to Lao Kips, you can still make your money go a long way. The last one I'll mention here for cost of living is Malaysia. Now, Malaysia, it gets talked about a lot as far as how good the bang for buck is, and it is, but I would say, well, it's definitely not as cheap as Thailand and probably not as cheap as any of these countries I've mentioned. Malaysia is more of a middle income country, but for a middle income country, it is very affordable. Again, if you're going to have a high-end condo, you can do it for a lot less than you would in the West, but it's gonna, you're gonna have to up your budget as well. If you're living in more modest accommodation, it's going to be a lot cheaper. Where you eat, as always, makes a huge difference. If you're eating at the local eateries, you can still get a meal for 10 ringgit, $2 or $3, so it's quite affordable. If you're eating at the more Westerner, expat, international kind of restaurants, like always, you're going to be paying a lot more. One thing worth mentioning is alcohol is quite expensive in Malaysia, a lot more expensive than these other countries. They've got quite high government tariffs there. It's a Muslim country as well, so that sort of justifies why there is high taxation on alcohol. So if you like to have a cold drink every night with your meal, you might be better off in another country, somewhere like Cambodia, where beer is very cheap, and most of these other countries, beer is pretty cheap. Now let's talk about visas. First up, Thailand, which probably is the most popular retirement market. They've got the well-known retirement visa there, where you have to, well, if you're over 50 years of age, you can apply for that. There's a couple of different ways to satisfy the criteria financially. The most common one is to park 800,000 baht in a bank account at the time of the application. That's about 22,000 US dollars. That's a 1-year renewable visa. Philippines, which is the other big retirement market, probably smaller than Thailand, but still easily bigger than any of the other countries, I would say. They've got a similar visa called the SRRV, the Special Resident Retirees Visa. It's pretty similar to the Thailand retirement visa. There's several different options for eligibility there. It requires putting a deposit into a bank ranging between 10,000 and 20,000 US dollars. Or if you're a veteran of the armed forces, that can be as little as $1,500. If you've got a pension, they'll let you in, they'll really look after you, make it nice and easy for you. Malaysia has a couple of well-known retirement visas, not always used by retirees, but they've got the MM2H, which is currently on hold. It should be getting re-released pretty soon. We're just waiting on final word for that. The visa that is very popular in Malaysia right now is the Sarawak MM2H. This became very popular when the regular MM2H had the prices jacked up, and now that the regular MM2H is currently on hold as well, a lot of people have been jumping on the Sarawak MM2H because it has a lot lower financial commitment to it. For that one, you have to be aged over 30, but there are extra requirements for people who are aged under 50. You have to make around a 32,000 deposit into a bank account, so a lot more than the mainland MM2H program, and you can take 40% of that out after 2 years to pay for car, house, education for their children, or medical expenses. You also have to demonstrate that you have around $1,500 a month of income, such as a pension or some other investment income. Or for the over 50s, there's an alternative method for eligibility here. If you can't meet the income requirement, you can also prove that you have around $10,000, $11,000 proof of savings in a bank account. Now, the last retirement visa I'll mention here is Cambodia. They have the ER retirement visa. This is open to the over 55s. Now, for this one, you have to prove that you are retired, that you are no longer bringing in an income from work, also that you have sufficient income, like a pension or investment income, that you have savings, that you have the means to support yourself. They don't put a dollar figure on it, but you have to be able to provide that whatever you have is sufficient to support you while you are in the country. Apart from that, it is relatively easy to apply for, probably one of the easier visas to apply for, and that's a 1-year visa that can be extended. We have made other videos about these visas going into more detail than I have here. If you want to check that out, head over to our channel page and do a search there. I might even put some links up above for that. We've also written articles over on offshoreinasia.com with more detail, probably more detail than we have in the video. So if you want to get more into the nitty gritty, perhaps head over and read our articles over on our website. Next up is healthcare. Now, if I had to pick one country that probably has the best healthcare in Southeast Asia, excluding Singapore, just within the countries that we're talking about here, I'd probably pick Malaysia. But I would say that Thailand is probably a pretty close second. Both of these countries have very good medical systems, very good hospitals, very affordable to expats and foreigners. You're not going to have any issues in either of these countries trying to stay healthy. And it is a lot cheaper than private healthcare in any country in the West. The Philippines is not bad. I probably wouldn't put it quite in the same camp as Thailand or Malaysia, but it's still not bad. I went to a dentist recently. I had a teeth clean. It was a very thorough cleaning, at least 30-40 minutes I was there, and that only cost me 800 pesos, which is around $13.60 USD or $20.60 in AUD. Now, it's been a while since I've paid for a dental treatment in Australia. I've been getting my dental treatment done, or my like a teeth cleaning or that kind of thing done in Thailand for years. This is the first time I've ever done it in the Philippines, which is probably half as cheap as Thailand. In Thailand, I'd pay about 40 Australian dollars or like 800, 1,000 baht. Here in the Philippines, I've paid half that. As I said, it's been a long time since I've had a checkup and clean in Australia, but I would say that if you're paying at least 100 Australian dollars, maybe 150, 200 would be more to the point. Now, if you need to get more serious dental work done, the Philippines is well known for that as well. So is Thailand. I'm sure you can get it done in Malaysia as well, quite cheaply. When you're talking about treatments that might cost, $1,000, $2,000 in the West, that's where you'll get quite big savings on dental treatment in places like the Philippines or Thailand. I don't have experience firsthand with the hospital systems in Cambodia, Laos, places like this, but I'm sure they're not terrible. And as these countries are all quite close together, it's quite easy. You can just book a 2-week holiday out to Bangkok, or head over to the Philippines and get your teeth done while you're there, or some other kind of medical treatment. So it's always accessible. If you don't have the medical treatment in the country you are living in, you can always jump on a plane and go to one of these other nearby countries that have quite good hospital systems. Now, the last topic here we'll go over is the social scene for expats in these various countries. So as far as the expat social scene goes, going to bars, having a chat, doing whatever with other expats in these countries, the two big markets are going to be the best for that. Thailand and Philippines. Thailand would be number one, just being a bigger expat market. That's not to say that Cambodia doesn't have a social scene. They do. Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, Kampot, places like this have pretty healthy social scenes. Laos, you're looking at Vientiane, Luang Prabang. You're always going to be able to find something in the bigger cities or the more touristy cities or places that are popular with expats. But as far as the sort of the big bar scenes and all the glitz and glamour of the nightlife, probably Thailand's number one for that. Now, on the sort of more social integration or even dating, I would say that Philippines is probably the best place. Thailand can be good as well. Any of these places can be good. Again, Thailand and Philippines being the two countries that are most used to having foreigners around in high numbers, relatively high numbers at least. When you're walking around, you'll see more mixed couples of like foreigner, local kind of thing. I would say that as far as social integration, probably dating as well, that Philippines is better than Thailand. It's certainly easier to have a conversation with someone on the street in the Philippines. There's just a lot less of a language barrier. It feels easier to integrate and sort of become part of the community. Whereas in Thailand, the people are very friendly, just as friendly, but you probably are a little bit more on the outside. And I think a lot of that just has a bit more to do with the language barrier. So depending on what you're looking for might direct you to a different place. They're the main things I wanted to mention here. If you've got any ideas, any suggestions of where you think is a good retirement location, if I've left anything out here, share your comments down below, share your experiences down below. A lot of the people, including myself, like to read the comments and see what people are up to and what people are thinking. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you later.